People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all well and safe, and I hope you're all doing well. Now, Thomas Partey is a Gooner, not to keep banging over the drum, you know. It's a great signing. I'm ecstatic about the signing. In isolation, it's a signing that can take us to the next level, but at the same time, he's one man. There's 10 other players on that pitch that need to help. But in relation to Partey, I'm sure a lot of you are keen to see how he features in the team, or how he'll, you know, be part of Arteta's team and whatnot. You know, he can do the defensive mid thing and start at the base. Me personally, he can do the box-to-box ball-winning midfielder thing, which is also that. And there's a lot of things we could do, man. Like if we just bring out our good friend over here, you know, initially if we just go off what we have already this season, people, you know, we've got our three at the back. Apologies because it's not as neat as it could be, but we've got our 3-4-3 of sorts. In an ideal world, I'd like to think Arteta moves a bit more towards 4-3-3. Again, I think a big part of him playing three at the back is, I think a slight part of him wants to do it, and I think we should be able to do it because the way we've won it in big games, you know, the FA Cup games that led us to that trophy, I think we need to ironically have that as part of our arsenal. Lock it down, lock it away, because there will be games where we are not going to be on the front foot. But I think 9 times out of 10, he would want to be at the front foot. I think if he had all the technical players and the players he wants and the players he truly believes in, he might well play three at the back. But you'd see you'd see more intention to get forward and whatnot. I don't think he fully trusts while we're developing and getting better, I don't think he fully trusts us collectively defensively. I don't think he really trusts individuals, bar a few defensively. So he's of the makeup of, you know, if I get more men behind, then in theory there's men nearer to the ball to kind of win it. If one man makes a mistake, they can kind of cover the space. So he might very much stay with this, and if he stays in it, obviously it's a pivot thing for Partey, people. You know, Partey can play in that. Partey can play in a number of systems. You know, Partey can even play right back, which you don't want him, people. Now, for me, it's what we do with him in this three at the back that's of my intention. Because what people underestimate, yeah, and especially if we're going to be this ball-winning team, if I just move this front three forward a bit, people, so I can insert some defenders. Not in goal, man. This is so hard doing it this way. But if I insert some defenders, people, you know, let's drop off a bit. Let's drop off a bit so I can exaggerate the example. Teams playing out from the back, people, they're starting the counter attack. Now we know under Arteta or any man in the modern day, in the modern era now, you know, the best form of defense is attack. When you lose the ball, recover it quickly, and we want to see pressing. Do you get it? Partey can help with that. You know, let's just say, you know, they beat this press sort of thing, people. Partey's more than willing to step out. Now, I like that because I class that as defending from the front. When you've got Lacazette who does that, you know, Aubameyang puts in a shift on the flanks. Pepe's improved defensively, and Willian actually puts in a shift in there. That's decent, but we need to win the ball high up the field. So sometimes Partey, apologies, could just step in and cut that out. Let's just say it's got to, yeah, I don't know, Jorginho's in my head and we're playing against Chelsea. You know he starts a lot of the moves. You cut that out early. And when you've got Ceballos and Partey, one of them could do that at a time. They're both dynamic. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. That's also, and that's not just a point for Partey. I want to do that more, but I think Partey gives you that ability. Of course, he can snap the ball up in dangerous areas for his team and relieve the pressure and distribute it, people. And that's why probably I'm leaning towards Ceballos and Partey. I know Xhaka is apparently got a big fan in Partey, and apparently when we first started talking to Partey in around 2018 or so, he spoke on the prospect of lining up with Xhaka. So there's also that. Obviously, Partey can mop up this area. Me, I want him to be box to box both ends, and it's that level now. We know playing out of the back is crucial to our football. When it gets out, you normally see Xhaka, for this example, here, or sometimes Ceballos. Now with Partey, that's interesting because Partey could do that. You know, Partey's more than comfortable receiving it off the centre halves and distributing it. Can Ceballos stay further forward and get into areas or pick up the ball higher up the field to get to areas where you can link up with these men more? Because you've seen many a times at Arsenal and with existing players previously as well, the most creative man, and sometimes because there's no creativity anywhere in the team, they're having to drop real deep. Now, it's normally a back four, you know, but you saw Santi Cazorla used to do it, Mesut Ozil used to do it, and drop here. And, you know, to a degree, it's irrelevant your player being there. And that has a knock-on effect for the rest of the team because he's gone searching for the ball. Obviously, Lacazette's a target man, but 9 times out of 10, you know, you have to concede you can't win it. And Lacazette's got good quality, so he'll drop deep. You know, Aubameyang, he wants to get in the channels and get in behind through on a narrow thing, but he'll start dropping. Pepe or William will be starved of the ball, you know, and everyone's coming to the ball. And on top of that, you know, you'd have a defensive system, which is this blue team. I actually don't have any more of these to hand, people, but you could imagine, if you imagine the rest of the teammates on that team, how they sit back and just soak up pressure. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see what we do with the pivot, people. Let's just put everybody back quickly. So I'm interested to see what happens specifically there, because like I said, Partey could be a ball winner. You know, he could stay there. You know, obviously if we disregard this formation and disregard 3 at the back for a second, people, and just say we're making a move towards a 4-3-3, what I would like to see. Now, it's an interesting one. We've got good problems. I would have liked to have had Torreira and Partey in the midfield, you know, especially if we're, ironically, after the international break, forgive me if I'm wrong, we play against Manchester City. Now, if you play against City, people, remove this for a sec. If you play against Man City, you don't expect your midfielders to be on the ball. You want us to sit back, and so not sit back per se, because you need to be on the front foot, but we're going to concede possession while their men are doing all of these things and getting onto the ball. So if you've got a Partey, disregard the creative man for a sec, but if you've got a Partey, yeah, and a Torreira, and there's games where, I don't know, we're playing 3 at the back, you know, 5 at the back in real terms, people, you know, 5 at the back, let's bring you back in, you know, we got our 2 midfielders, well, it's 3 at the back, but we'll just say we're sitting back. I don't mind that, people. You've got warriors in the middle, you know. Your back 5 is hard to break down. You've got Torreira and Partey in the middle. They can break that down in certain games. But at the same time, I don't want to see that really set up how we want to. You want to set up and be on the front foot. But I just thought we deserved to have that in our arsenal, ironically, you know. Just the option. Because every midfielder in our team should complement each other. You know, there should be games for inferior, away from old Mesut Ozil's issues at the club. There should be games where you could look at, okay, we don't really need the handbrake up, so can we not play Partey? Can you go with, you know, can you go with a Ceballos and Ozil and, you know, maybe Xhaka in terms of that, you know? We need different options. There's going to be some games for Partey and Ceballos, sometimes Xhaka and Ceballos. Partey, you know, the many combinations we can do with Partey, people, really, really and truly. So the midfield one is crucial. The midfield 3, if we go to a 4-3-3, because you can pick anywhere else. You know, there's not too many question marks over any other positions in the team, people. You know, if we say 4-3-3, let's just make it flat for a sec. Put our striker and our wingers. Apologies, people. Obviously, I'm leaning over. It's not going to be the prettiest. But let's just say that there's not too many question marks. You know, if we're going with 4 at the back, Leno goes in goal, clearly. You know, Kieran Tierney's first choice at fullback. Right back is a toss-up. You know, Bellerin, I'm a big fan of Bellerin. But for me, it's Maitland-Niles and Tierney as the fullbacks. You know, long-term Saliba. But right now, Gabriel, who's slotted in perfectly and looks to be a steal. Apologies for, I don't know what's going on with the autofocus there, people. What's going on? What the hell? I don't know what happened there, people. My camera's been moving a bit AWOL, but apologies for that. But like I said, 4 at the back, 3 in midfield. You know, Gabriel right now has locked it down. David Luiz is someone for the medium term as we wait for Saliba to get up to speed, I hope. You know, you got your fullbacks for me personally, Maitland-Niles, Tierney, Leno in goal. Midfield 3, you know, that's the interesting one because, again, do you go with Dani Ceballos? For me, in fact, before I say that, do you go with Xhaka and Partey, you know? Xhaka can now receive the ball up there, you know, leaving Partey further forward to recover the ball. Let's just say, in real terms, our midfield goes like this. Let me replay that. It's a 3-man midfield, but if you know it's Xhaka, Xhaka typically wants to receive the ball, you know. Ceballos in an ideal world, he likes to come onto the ball. But if we've got Partey and Xhaka who can do that, you know, stay further up the field and link up with the front 3. I don't really need you there. Obviously, you got to drop and whatnot. You get the point. Then you've got Partey. Partey's just screening in this instance when we've got the ball. He's ready to receive it on the turn and distribute it, but he's screening. If we lose the ball and there's a counter-attack in this midfield, you know, he's either going to lock it down or he's going to engage. But he's just coaching there, really. And it's interesting because I say that, you know, Xhaka is now free. You know, you've got Ceballos and Partey who, for me, are quite dynamic, can get around. Xhaka, to be fair, in our system, he's looked a bit better, but on his worst days, he can be cumbersome and lack mobility. But at the same time, he's a decent player. He'd be free to just, you know, do that and kind of play how he does for Switzerland to a degree. He plays the same for Arsenal, but with a tiny bit more freedom. Equally, you know, that could also be Partey. We could turn around and, because we know Partey, he can play as a defensive mid, but in game situations, Partey can receive it off the centre half. He's good on the ball and can turn and help progress us as well, people. And that could leave, you could say, all right, cool, Partey, you go do that. Fullbacks, you go. just for this example, let's leave them here. Let's not go too far. But alright, Partey, go receive it, you know. Ceballos again stays further up the field. Xhaka again could stay in midfield and maybe get onto the ball with a bit more time and space and turn and try and play. Our midfield three is the one that is crazy for me, because obviously there's no Aouar. Whether we're going to go for him in January, which I don't think is feasible to bring in that sort of player in January. I'm not talking about finances. I'm just saying, would it be wise for him personally to leave? He might be thinking it might not be. But we know at least in the next 2.5 months, I hope we're looking for a creative player. But in terms of creativity, we do have more within this team to offer more than we're showing. I felt we needed that composing figure as Partey. Equally, you lot know we needed someone a bit more creative. We don't break lines enough. I feel whether that one comes in or not, we can play to better potential. We've got Aubameyang, you know. How many times do we really try and find him in a game and get him in behind consistently? You know, we put them 19 pass moves together and they're fantastic and a great work on the training ground. But them sort of moves there should become the minimum. They should happen at a higher tempo more frequently in the game. It don't really happen. It's an isolated incident. 9 times out of 10, it's the one time in the game we do it. On one hand, that tells me we're cerebral, we're waiting for our chances, but I think we can do a bit more. And that tells me we've got more in our team. Like I said, we don't try and hit Aubameyang enough for me. Them balls in behind, what Aubameyang made his name on before coming to Arsenal. You know, you've got William, whatever you say about him, he's a competent person in the final third of sorts. Lacazette's goal scoring record might be in question, people, but at the same time, he can do that. You've now got Ceballos. We can play a bit more creative, you know. I keep saying it in my recent vids, but we took 2 shots in the second half, allegedly against Sheffield United. It took 20 odd minutes to have our first shot at, in the first half. Fair enough, Eddie was playing and not Laka, but so it don't really apply. But we can fix problems a bit more in-house, and that's down to the coaching. But in terms of our personnel, we're gonna have to sort it out. And you know, you look at Ceballos, you look at Partey, you look at Xhaka. For me, you know, I don't think Xhaka's a bad player. Xhaka does his thing, he receives off the centre halves and whatnot. Wouldn't be a regular in my team, but I understand why he is. Ceballos looks like he's turned a new leaf, looks like he's getting, based on how last season ended and how this one started, more intelligence in his play. And Partey's that composing box-to-box figure who can screen up and play a defensive mid-role, but for me, box-to-box, put out fires where you can, and he can also distribute the ball. The problem is, with no disrespect to Partey, because he's not known for goals and assists. We bought him for another job, you know, but keep that thought, people. You know, you've got Partey. Ceballos needs to get more goals and assists, but for me, before that, you know, dictate the tempo of the game a bit more. Make sure more creativity rolls through you. And you've got Xhaka. Now, I think they're good options, but if he was to be harsh, it doesn't necessarily, as a collective, it doesn't scream goals, it doesn't scream assists, it doesn't scream locking it down defensively, it doesn't scream too much, people. So I'm keen to see what we do with our options. You know, you could go just off the top of my head. You know, Ceballos, Xhaka, well, Partey, Xhaka, Partey, Ceballos. You know, you could obviously throw many examples with El Nene in there. William could play with a Partey and Xhaka. It could be Ceballos, Partey and William. There's many different midfield pivots and trios we could flirt between and use. And on one hand, you want to see us settle on one and have one central base way of playing. But on the other hand, we need these options. And at least for I keep by instinct say 6 months because I think we're in August. At least for the next 2.5 months, we're going to have to solve our problem in-house, people. Again, you know, other examples as well. Do you bring Mesut Ozil back into play? Do you go Partey, Ceballos, Mesut Ozil in a creative thing? I know Mesut, even though he fist pumped Arteta today, I know it looks a bit gazy for him, but do you get where I'm going with this, people? You know, I guess based on the engine and whatnot, could you go Joe Willock, Partey and Ceballos? Again, I'm not a big fan of that trio, but I'm painting the picture. Could you go, you know, I know Maitland-Niles is exclusively spoken about as a fullback, but Arteta has spoken of him, people. And again, it's not the most creative, but in terms of an engine, could you go Maitland, Partey and Ceballos or Ozil or whatever trios, people, you've got? Like, off the top of my head, the ones I've said, you know, Partey, Ceballos, Ozil, like I said, Xhaka, Partey, Ozil, you know, there's many different options, and I feel that's the minimum Arteta needs, and it's a good problem for him to want to sort out. What we need not do is what fans are probably looking at Gabriel and that. You're looking at Partey and Gabriel to develop, become better and make the difference, but Gabriel alone isn't going to be the difference as to whether we keep clean sheets. How we improve the system and our outlook, he'll shine because he's quality, but it's a collective. You know, I'm bringing in, I love that Partey can put a foot in and we've got a physical presence, but he can't dominate the midfield alone. He will, you know, the laws of averages. If there's 3 men in midfield and the opposite team and they're on it and our midfield are iffy, Partey's going to get eaten alive no matter how good he is. Do you get it, people? So we'll have to see. There's a lot of options, but for me it's good issues, people. It's really good problems to have, people. So we'll have to see what happens. But on that note, people, deluded, I'm out.